It's Bradley here. So today I'm starting a new project. So, what is that project, you ask? Well, I'm creating a planner. So this is going to be, I'm going to plan loads of things. Um, so I'm going to be using it to keep a calendar, um, to create a budgeting tool. So it just help me break down how I'm managing my money, and it'll also be like percentages of what I'm spending, where I'm spending it, that kind of deal. Um, so I can make some notes, and it'll also allow you to have various users that have all of their own things. So they all have their own calendars, budgets, notes, all separate from each other, just in case you've got separate um, just in case multiple people using the same system, or if you were to install this on like a server or something. Um, not that uh, this is just proof of concept. Um, so how am I going to make it? So I'll be using WPF on the .NET framework. For any of you that don't know what WPF is, um, it stands for Windows Presentation Foundation, and it's just a way of creating um, UIs um, using XML or XAML to just create your layouts, and then you've got code behind that, which is written in C sharp or VB if you pick that option, but I'd choose C sharp um, to then do the behaviors, and it's got loads of other cool stuff. So I'll be using Visual Studio 2019, I believe I use, um, to be doing that and manage all the extras that you can add in. I'll also be using GitHub, so I'll be using that to uh, upload all of my content so that you guys can, all of you guys that are watching it, can keep track of the progress that I'm making. Or if you're watching, the whole series in one go, you can see the progress that I'm making for each of them. And say there's something that you like in one that I then go back and change in the next video. You don't have to go, oh damn, I'm gonna have to copy it from the video. Um, you can actually just go back to that commit and go, hey, I like that. I'm also going to be using Stack Overflow quite a lot because I'm not a particularly experienced programmer. So I've only been programming for, I'd say, 6 years, but not professionally at all. So I just program at home and, you know, at home, and I'm about to go into uni, so I'll be doing a lot more there. So, yeah. I'll also be using the WPF and .NET docs because, like I said, there isn't that much to know, and WPF is not a technology I'm very well acquainted with. Um, I've been trying to use it quite a lot recently, but there's still a lot that I don't know. Um, I'll also be using an application called Icons 8. Um, so that it's a repository of images and icons that you can search. You can customize the color of some of them. Um, you can say what size, what format you want to export them as. And I'll be using that for a lot of my basic images and resources, such as like lock icons and menu option icons, stuff like that. Um, It's free to install software, but I'll go through that when I actually start using it. I'll show you guys where to install it from, all of that jazz. So, what am I going to be doing in this video? So today I'll be setting up the GitHub repository, and I'll leave a link for that in the description box below. I'll be setting up the solution with Visual Studio 2019. And I'll also be setting up the project within that solution. Once I've done all of that will be committed to the repository, And then, yeah, that looks about it. So, GitHub. So, GitHub, like I said, it's a free to use to an extent. There's other things you can do with it, which costs, you know, a certain amount of subscriptions. So you can make like web pages and stuff that use GitHub as like a host almost. But you can create loads of repositories. I think face it, and for free you get thousands. So it's really simple. So you just create an account. I'm signed in already. And then you literally just click a button. So that was on the home screen. So github.com/new. So right, first thing I've got to do is pick a name for it. So I'm just going to call it personal planner. Cool. Can you give a brief description so that anyone watching it, anyone that wants to view the repository, knows what it's about? So this is a project to keep track of day-to-day things. I'm going to set it to public, and I'm going to initialize it with a repository, with a README. So a README is literally it will allow me to clone the repository to my computer, basically, and that will also include this kind of information. So it will say the personal planner, the description, and you can also edit it. Yeah, so that's what that README is. I'm also going to add a git ignore. So a git ignore, it's just a file that contains a list of file types and formats and loads of other jazz about what you want it to not include. So when you commit changes to it through Visual Studio or some other tool, it means that if you want to commit anything from your PC, it will just ignore the fact that that file exists. So you want to do that a lot about like personal configuration files, just because it'll be different from system to system, from where it's installed, etc. Also, they're just unimportant. So click on git ignore, and I want to ignore Visual Studio specific files because some of them that they're not needed for the project to work. They're more like how my Visual Studio is set up really for me. So like my user stuff. Got to add a license. So it isn't something that I technically have to do. But it's always good to include a license. So it basically outlines what people can do with my project. Yes, so there is an option to choose there is like an option to see if you don't know what license to pick. There's a like information button here. So I want to make it simple and permissive. So although none of these really are ones I'm going to pick, but you know, if you don't know which one you want to pick, then do that. So I am just going to pick the GNU General Public License. It's just the one that I think is probably the better one to do in this case, just so that you guys can see it, but you can't use any of it explicitly. So you can't just copy it and go, hey, this is mine, despite the fact that I made it. So let's create this repository. Okay, so that is the repository made. It's as simple as that. So there's loads of stuff you can do. So this is what it starts off with. So this is your README, and you can edit this just like so. So can I put a space in there just because? But no, I'm just going to leave it actually. So right, what I'm going to do is now show you how to put this into how to clone this to your computer. So the first thing to do is go back, and there's a button here, green button, hard to miss. So you click that, and then you just want to click this button here. So what this does is it just copies the URL to this Git repository. So in this case, it's just that. So click that button. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the location where I want it on my system. So I'm just going to pop into here. I haven't actually got a folder for that yet. Right, so first thing I'm going to do is I am going to right click and I'm going to open Git Bash. So Git is an application that is created by for GitHub, so you can put all your so you can just use it as a tool to manage your Git basically. So the command I'm going to use is git clone, and I'm going to paste in that. So then if I press enter, it's going to clone this repository into my file space. So as you can see, I've now got personal planner, okay, and it's got everything that is in here. It's also got a .git, but that's just I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I think that has something just so that the Git application can see that it is in fact a Git repository and not just a file. So in fact I can actually just go to if I just open up personal planner from here, so cd personal planner, it says master here. So what that means is I'm on the master fork. So forks are just different. If people contribute to it, they can create a new fork from it. So say you wanted to use my application, but you also wanted to make changes from it. You could add a new fork and do stuff to it, so new branches even. So this is the master branch, so this will affect the main core of it. As far as I have to my understanding. I'm not too familiar with GitHub, so don't take my word on that specifically, but this here is the master fork. So I am now all done with this application. So now the next thing that I need to do is set up the solution. So to do that, I'm going to go to Visual Studio, if it wants to load, and I am going to create a new project. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, rather than creating the project all in one go, I am going to create the solution. So a solution for anyone that is completely new to Visual Studio. When you create projects, you create solutions, and they are just a space where you can put associated projects together. So all under one workspace, one environment. So quite often, say you wanted to create a solution to I don't know, set, in fact, even just for this. So you could have a different solution for various different tools. It appears my extension lead is not working. Let me quick that it's actually plugged in. There we go. Cool. Didn't want my battery dying on me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a blank solution, and then I can add projects to the solution, which is always neat. So I'm going to go for blank solution. That's just so that I can add that to the, I can commit that and then add a solution in, add them project into that and commit that. It's just so that if I need to wipe the entire thing or just fancy going back to a blank solution for whatever reason, I can. So click blank solution, and I'm going to call this exactly what I called it, call my repository. This is important because it means that then when I create this solution, it's going to put it into this folder. Or, well, if I put it starting here, create the solution called Personal Planner, it will then put all the VS code, all the projects, etc. inside of this folder, which when I then commit changes to the repository, it will pop them into, it will pop anything that I've done here up into GitHub. So I'm going to call it Personal Planner, no spaces, Personal Planner, and I'm going to make sure that I'm putting it in the right place. So pop it in there, there, oh no, not there. So I'm going to want it to be in my projects folder, right? So that's the location where this folder here is. So select this folder, and bam. If I now click create, it's opened up. So as you can see, I have a solution with 0 projects. If I go in here, I've now got the project. Right, so now I can go and commit the change to GitHub. So there is a number of ways you can do it. I could do it using this git bash, but as there's tooling here within Visual Studio, I'm going to do it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Team Explorer, just pin this here, click on changes, and I'm going to right click it and stage it. So what that means is that it's going to put all of the stuff that I've done and put them all together so that I can commit that. So I'm going to just call it episode 1. No, it's I'm doing a complete factory reset. Commit 1. So I have added. So this is just going to be a note on the commit, basically, so that you can see. So going back, you'll be able to understand what's going on. So I have added a blank solution to the repository. Bam. You can add more information than that, but really I haven't done much. So the next thing to do is to commit stage. So, right, what has that done? So that has committed the change to my the repository that's on my system. But if you were to go onto GitHub, reload it, it's not there. That's because you got to sync this repository, so what the change that we made here and the commit that I've made locally, and you've got to sync that up with GitHub. So I click on changes, go down to sync, and click sync, and then it's going to do its thing, What went wrong? Right, for some reason, it didn't like that. Fetch and sync. Right. I think I was just signed in with the wrong credentials. I think I was still signed in with my personal credentials. So let's try this again. So I'm going to click fetch. There's nothing to fetch down from the repository. So if any changes had been made, then if someone else committed since I last synced up with the online repository, then it would have told me what commits had been done, so I could decide what I wanted to commit to locally, and then sync up as I need to. So I'm just going to click sync, and it should work. It should work now. There we go. So as you can see, there's no longer any outgoing commits. So there's nothing to push, which is what sync does. So sync actually fetches, then pushes. So it downloads the most recent changes from the GitHub, and then pushes, merges them, and then pushes. So it's just a much easier way of doing that. So now, if we go across to my GitHub, yeah, I spent quite a while trying to work out the issues, but the bug, it's all fixed now. So if I refresh this, there we go. So we've got a personal planner.sln, right? So that's the solution file. So I know that I said that I was also going to add the projects this time, but I've actually run out of time. So what I'm going to do is, and also this video is getting very long, so it's me signing out. If you enjoyed the video, or just want to show any support, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, liking, subscribing, and turn on the notification bell to get updates on every upload I do, then please do, or don't if you're if you don't want to hear from me again. So thanks for watching. And in the next video, I'll be setting up the project, and getting a start on adding a few of the features that I'm going to want whilst doing this project. So there's going to be some stuff that I'm going to want to add. So yes, I will see you guys in the future. Bye.